sorts of difficulty with the internet here. So I'm going to turn my video off because that makes it a little harder. And at any point, if you hear long, awkward pauses from me, that's probably my video and not
like right now. We have it planned out too. If we get to a place where it's paused for a long time, then I'll just pick up on a presentation.
Am I off right now?
You were for a second, and I told him that if we get to a place where you're paused for too long, I'll just pick up on the. I'll just pick up on a presentation.
I'll turn my video off to hopefully take care of that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's go and get started then. There's a couple more people just jumped in. All right. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to project out to you the most recent post we put on Classroom. We've got some information we have to share with everybody, regardless of whether you're taking the AP Stats exam or not. And then we've got some specific information just for people who are taking the AP exam, which is most of you. So I'm going to project out to you the Classroom post, and we're going to talk through some things from there. And this is going to be recorded. So if you ever need to come back and look at it, you will be there. So here we go. Not that one. Here we go. Okay, so this post I'm talking about, we put several things on here. The main bulk of what we're going to talk about today is in this Google Slides file. So if you need to go back to it, you can look at it. We're going to talk about how the AP exam is going to work. We've talked about some of the details. We're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty today. Second thing on here, you guys know you're going to have to upload your work to the AP exam website, very similar to what you did for our test. This is a link that lets you actually practice exactly what it's going to look like. So you practice way before the actual day of the test, May 22nd at 1 o'clock, to make sure it's going to work. The third thing listed here, there's a little checklist of things you need to have ready before the exam, happen during the exam, and then what you'll need to do after the exam. And then the final thing here is a list of the important grading deadlines that apply to any DMAT class that you're taking, or actually any high school class this semester with all the craziness we've had. Okay, well, let's dive into it here. Also, if you can, I don't know if you can while I'm sharing the screen, if you can do the chat or not. But if you have chat questions, feel free to throw them in. So here we go. I'm going to start out. Mr. Stevens and I are going to kind of alternate back and forth a little bit with that.
And I think they can chat, and I also monitor it too while you're presenting.
Okay.
Every student as well too. We have one or two of you that don't have your mics muted, and we can kind of hear some stuff going on in the background. So if you get a chance, just double check, turn off your mic. That would be good. And then I'll monitor the chat.
I don't know if they can mute it while I'm sharing. I don't know if that really takes over their whole screen or not.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, well, I'm going back to presenting here. So here we go. Okay, that was not going well. We'll try this one. Present. Mr. Stevens, are you hearing me or seeing this?
I'm hearing you, but all I see for the presentation is your profile picture, and it says that you're presenting.
Well, I did it for a second, then it went away.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try it again. There, is that going now?
I
see it on my screen now. Is it going to you guys? I see a lot of head shaking out there. Okay. Let me stop the presenting. Can you guys hear me? Yes, okay, that's good. Okay, let's see if we can do it without doing the actual presenting the slides, if I just present my screen without doing the slide presentation. Let's try it again.
I think that when you present, you might have to turn your video back on too, so that we can see it.
Oh, really? Okay, that could be it. Well, I don't know, that's going through the camera, and so the monitor.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We just couldn't see it.
Okay, well, let's try that. We'll turn video back on, and we'll try it that way. All right, sorry guys, we're getting there. Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Right.
I can see now. Yeah.
You can see it. Okay, I'm going to click present. Tell me if you can see it.
Yep.
You can still see that?
Yep.
Okay, here we go then. Sorry for the delay there. Okay, so two main things here. One, we got information for every single stat student out there, and that'll take just a couple minutes, and then we're going to dive into the AP exam. So information, first of all, for everybody, whether you're taking the AP exam or not, you need to know this. Every year that we teach AP Stats, since it's a DMAC class, DMAC has sent us a final exam that DMAC creates that they require our students to take since you are getting DMAC credit. They have not sent that to us yet, and we haven't heard from them about it yet. Normally they send it to us in about mid-May. So I just want you guys to be aware that even though you, as we've told you already, the Unit 3 test that you guys just took is the last new material test that we'll be taking. It is quite possible that DMAC will still be sent us this final exam that we will then have you guys take as required by DMAC for DMAC credit. So just understand that it's possible that DMAC is still sending this. We will let you know as soon as we hear from them about whether they're going to have students take it this year or not take it this year. We just don't know. So that's still out in the open. The other important thing is some important grading deadlines. I know that you guys have probably gotten emails from all of your teachers in the district about this, but just some quick things to keep track of. And there's different deadlines depending if you're a senior or junior or sophomore. But if you're still having work that you need to turn in that was incomplete or that you're going to retake a test, seniors has to be done by Wednesday, May 20th. Juniors, you get almost a week later than that to do it. As far as the grade that you guys pick this semester, again, it's crazy. You have an option to choose pass-fail. And on your centennial transcript, if you want to choose a passing grade instead of the letter grade, then you have to email either me or Mr. Stevens by Friday, May 22nd. If we do not receive an email from you, literally an email, then your grade will just simply be the letter grade that you have at that point in time. Juniors and sophomores, you have a little bit longer time period to do that, but again, you have to email us. Because it's a DMAC class, DMAC has also said you have an option to choose either a passing grade instead of your letter grade. It's a different process to do that. If you want your DMAC grade on your college transcript to be a pass, that has absolutely nothing to do with me or Mr. Stevens. You have to make that online request with DMAC at the registrar's office. It can all be done online, is what we've been told. And it's in the middle of June, June 12th to June 19th. So if you're thinking about taking something other than simply your letter grade, just remember there's some responsibility on your end. You either have to email us about your centennial grade, or you have to email the DMAC registrar's office or go to their online request form by these deadlines, okay? Easiest thing is if the letter grade you have is just what you want, you don't want to change it to a passing grade, then you don't have to do anything. You just keep it just the same. You just don't email anybody, don't do anything, and that'll be the letter grade that you get.
And just
anything you want to add to that?
Oh, just to reiterate, even if you email us and say that you want to pass fail, we have to give your letter grade to DMAC. No matter what, we have to give your letter grade to DMAC, and you have to contact DMAC because you're a college kid now. That is how DMAC sees you is that is your choice. You have to give them that communication. So even if, let's say you have a C and you want to pass fail and you tell me Centennial, you'll have a pass. But DMAC, you still have to do that separate email during that time that's listed there to change it to pass fail. We can't do anything to help you pass fail for DMAC. That's all you. You are a college student to them. They don't listen to us. They don't listen to parents. They listen to you.
Right. The other thing that makes me think of too, I'll add, is that at Centennial, you can change any grade from a D- or higher into a pass. But at DMAC, they will only take C- and higher as a pass. If you say you have a D+ and you go to DMAC and say, hey, I want this to be a passing grade, they're going to say, no, you just have to have that letter grade. So DMAC will only change C- and higher to a passing grade. Okay, so I'll tell you, at this point, those two pieces of information we wanted every single student to hear. What we're going to do from this point forward is geared, obviously, towards the students that are taking the AP exam. If you are not taking the AP exam, then remember that we've done the final testing over Unit 3. You likely, as far as I know, still have a DMAC final exam that's going to be coming to us. Again, we'll let you know if they decide they're not going to do it this year, since everything's upside down this year. But if you're not taking the AP exam, then everything from this point forward does not really apply to you. So if you do not want to continue in this meeting, you are welcome to leave the meeting at this point. But keep track of the things we talked to you already about, grading deadlines and the potential for that DMAC final exam. Anything else, Mr. Stevens?
No, I would just say that the one question that we got in the chat is how do we know if we should pass fail, if there's a percentage at which we would recommend it. Remember that if you choose a pass, it doesn't affect your GPA in either way. But there might be a case if you've gotten a scholarship or something like that too, or you've been admitted to a program where if you chose pass fail here, you may not be able to move forward and get credit for it. For instance, I believe that if you get a C- or higher at Iowa State in a DMAC class, that may still count as a math credit. But if you got a passing grade, that might be harder to turn into a math credit and maybe a elective credit or something like that too. You also want to make sure that you don't take so few pass fails that you wouldn't have enough credits. If it is somehow affecting a scholarship that you have, I believe that the NCAA is now on board to kind of help out with that. But I would say if you're, especially if you're an athlete, a student athlete, and you're concerned about that, reach out to your counselor, reach out to your coach, and kind of see on that too. But I think A, B, or C, I'm definitely thinking A or B, I'm definitely taking the letter grade. But if you have like a C or a D, that's where you might want to think about it, because it is how your college GPA is going to start, and that's going to start working towards your college GPA when that's reported to your institution.
Yeah, the other thing that makes me think too is just like how we told you guys earlier, the score you get on the AP exam, different colleges can treat it differently. Like one college might say, if you get a 4, we'll do this, but another college say, if you get a 3, we'll do that. You might want to, if you were my child, like I have Ryan here, I would tell him, if he's considering a pass-fail, I would definitely contact your college and ask them directly, how are you going to handle pass-fail grades this semester? Is it going to affect a scholarship that I have? Is it going to give me credit or no credit? Because I could just picture, every college could be different. So you gotta take some of that responsibility yourself. Okay, Mr. Stevens, I know I'm presenting. I know you're going to do the first discussion here on this first section, but I will just, you tell me when you're ready to move on and I'll advance it. But from this point forward, everything's about the AP exam. So you guys who are not taking it, you can feel free to head out. As always, email us with any questions you have about our class or what's going on that you might have questions with. Okay?
Yep. And for all students, this presentation's online, so you can look at it again too, and you're welcome to do that.
Yep.
So the biggest thing we're going to talk about first is how to access the AP exam. So when is the exam? Well, we know that a bunch of the exams are different places. You can see that down on the bottom if you want to check out your other exams. But our exam is at 1 p.m. 1 hour time on Friday, May 22nd. And they really recommend that you're in your seat 30 minutes before that exam starts to log in. You'll be doing your initial login, your name, stuff like that too. Getting there a half an hour early to make sure you're good to go. And the exam is going to start exactly at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. How to access your e-ticket. So you're going to get a ticket emailed to you about 2 days before the test. This is going to look like. It's going to have your exam. It's going to have your Apple ID, your AP ID, and then everything that you need. And you're going to click on go to the exam in that 30-minute window before your exam starts, okay? Your e-ticket is only you, and it can't be shared with anyone else. So if you have that email, that ticket, and you share it with someone else, right, there's a lot of things to be able to tell if it's not going to you. So make sure that you are only clicking on yours. And if you're taking more than one AP exam, you'll have more tickets there. So you want to make sure that you're looking at what the title of it is. And because they don't plan to release it early, you shouldn't have a whole bunch of tickets ready to go. All right, because you're only going to get it 30 minutes before your exam. You're only going to click in 30 minutes before your exam. So you see this says email the e-ticket 2 days before your test. So you really want to make sure, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, that when it's 2 days out, you're looking to see if you have it. And if not, there's going to be some processes for you to look through.
Yeah, and I was going to remind you too, we know the exam starts at 1 o'clock. That's when the questions will show up. And when you are ready to roll and start writing out your responses. But you got to log in 30 minutes before the test starts. So you got to log in at 12:30 so that you have time to enter your ID and enter all the information they're going to need and be ready to go.
So what happens is you get that ticket, that's only for the May exams. Remember that during the May exam, if you have something that comes up or you had some problems and you have to end up doing the makeup exam in June, you'll get a new ticket. So this e-ticket is only for the exam that's happening in May.
Okay, so now how do you take the actual AP exam here? So I'm going to highlight a few things. Remember, these slides are going to be out there. You have access to this on Classroom, so you can go back and look at it. Once you've logged in and you've entered your ID and the test is going, the test has begun, you're going to have a timer that shows on your screen that starts a 30-minute countdown for question number 1. Remember, there's 2 total questions. Question number 1 is going to have a 30-minute countdown that you have to do your work and then to submit your question. How that 30 minutes is broken down basically is 25 minutes you have to read the question, think about how you're going to respond, and write out your responses. And then you're going to have 5 minutes to actually submit it. Once the timer gets down to 5 minutes, the timer is going to turn red to kind of draw your eye to it and say, hey, this is getting down to time here. And it will go through the entire 30-minute countdown. You cannot finish question number 1 early. Say you're done in 17 minutes and you're like, I'm done, I submitted it. You still have to go through the countdown the entire 30 minutes because everybody in the entire world is taking this at the exact same time. You guys should feel lucky that you're taking this test at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because people who are taking it across the world, like in China, they're getting up at 3 in the morning to take this test at the exact same time you are. Once that 30-minute countdown goes completed, the second question is going to appear and you cannot go back. So unlike a paper and pencil test where you can flip back and forth between any questions, you cannot go back to the first question. Once it's done, it's done. And question number 2, you're going to get a 20-minute timer. It's a shorter question. It's not going to have as many parts. So again, you got about 15 minutes to read the question and write out your response. And then with 5 minutes left, the countdown timer will turn red to clue you in, hey, you got to be wrapping this up. So you'll see that timer at the bottom. And again, that's what I've been saying. When 5 minutes is left, you really need to think about just quitting your work, stopping the writing process, and begin to take your picture so you can submit your work to AP. I've read online, you can keep writing if you want to, but the more time you write, the less time you have to submit your work. And when the timer is up, the question is done. You cannot go back to it. So I want to be real clear. What happens if you run out of time? If the timer runs out and you haven't submitted your picture, you are totally out of luck. There is nothing you can do. You cannot go back to it. You cannot resubmit it later. You cannot take the makeup exam. So you have to make sure you submit your work before the timer has completely expired, okay? Even if you aren't done, say question number 1 has parts A, B, C, D, E, and F. I don't know what it'll have, but say it's got 6 parts to it, and you're only done with parts A, B, C, D, then you just got to say, I have to just cut my losses. I have to take the picture, get it submitted. You'll still get points for your parts you've done, but if you don't submit it, you have a 0. So you got to just submit whatever you have. Okay, that's real important. When you're viewing the question, so once the test starts, you're going to be looking at it. What I'm going to encourage you to do is have the test logged into and open up on your Chromebook so that you can see it on a relatively bigger screen, not just your phone, but on the Chromebook. It's going to look kind of like this. They pointed out there's no way to digitally annotate it. So when you see the question on your screen, there's no way to go in and highlight a part or circle a part. Notes, you know, like sample information, things like that we've always talked about. So that's what viewing the question is going to look like. And you'll have your timer down here. And at the very bottom, there's going to be a couple different ways that you can send AP your work. And so we're going to talk about now. There's actually 3 different methods you can give them your work. And I am highly, highly going to recommend that you do it this 3rd method only, where you handwrite your work and take a picture of your work, just like we've been doing with our last 2 tests. I'm going to show you very briefly what the other 2 are. They involve typing your work on a keyboard, but I'll tell you why I wouldn't do that, okay? So this option, you're going to put your work on a sheet of paper, and we'll talk about how to set that paper up as we get going here. All right, option 1 is you do this. On your screen, you have the question, and then inside of a Google Doc or Microsoft Word or something like that, you literally are typing on a keyboard your responses. And then you could copy and paste all of your typed up response and paste that into an area on the testing screen to give them your answer. And I'll tell you why I would totally not do that, okay? I wouldn't. All doing this. It does also say you cannot have Grammarly, that extra feature on Chrome.
And Mr. Lockman, you cut out for just a second when you said, I'll tell you why you shouldn't do this, and then it cut out, so they don't know why not to do this. Dun, 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 dun.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you now.
Okay, sorry. So I wouldn't do it because it's hard to type math. It's hard to type, you know, fractions and numbers, and especially all the math symbols like mu and sigma and all of that stuff. So again, handwriting, I think, is the way to go. Option 2 is very similar to option 1. You see the question and you type up your responses, again, in Google Docs or Microsoft Word, but instead of copying and pasting them, you save the file and then you attach the document in the testing website, just like you might attach something to an email. Again, I wouldn't do this because it's hard to type math. So option 1 and 2, they're out there, but here is definitely what I would do, okay? This is absolutely what Mr. Stevens and I encourage you to do, and we talked about this with each other. This is what we want you to do. Very much like how we tested ourselves. You're gonna see the test on your Chromebook, but you're gonna write your work on sheets of paper, okay? On the sheet of paper, and we'll remind you of this, at the top of the paper, you're gonna write your AP ID number, which you'll get 2 days before you take the test, and the email ticket. Put your initials and put a page number, and I'll show you what this is gonna look like. Then you're gonna write your responses out, dark pen or pencil. When you have 5 minutes left, that's when you need to stop working and take the photo in vertical orientation. Some of you guys were sending us your test in landscape mode where the pages turn sideways. Don't do that. Take it in the vertical orientation, and you should have 1 page per photo. If you need to take more than 1 page of paper to answer the test question, then you just take 1 picture for each page. And then you're going to submit 1 or 2 or 3 maybe pages and 1 or 2 or 3 pictures for question 1. And then you're going to do it again for question 2. Okay. A couple things, we're going to talk about this. The pictures you take have to be in one of these 3 formats. They got to be either PNG pictures or a JPEG type picture. All right. We're going to talk more specifically, but this is definitely the way to go. So since we were just mentioning the format of your picture, I'm going to tell you something I read online that I think could affect a lot of you. This was affecting Mr. Stevens, and some of his students even emailed him about this. So we just talked about the picture you take has to be one of these file formats. And if you have an Android phone, I think you're going to be fine automatically. It should take a JPEG picture. But if you have an iPhone, especially a newer iPhone, sometimes they take pictures in a different format called HEIC. It's high efficiency something. I don't remember what it stood for. But that picture is not going to be allowed, that picture type. So you have to make sure that your iPhone or an iPad, if you're going to use that, are not taking pictures in this format. You might want to check this right now. If you have an iPhone, you might want to do this right now. So you can change the picture setting on your iPhone by doing this. You go to settings, choose camera, choose format, and then select most compatible. And that will make it so that your pictures are a JPEG format. You might want to do it right now just so it's done. When the exam is all over on May 22nd, if you're a huge fan of HEIC picture formats, you can obviously change it back. Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Stevens, as a dedicated iPhone user?
First of all, we did try, Mr. Lofgren showed this to me today, and I looked through, and it is pretty easy to fix. So go ahead and just follow those steps and let us know if you have questions. There's a question we have from Creighton. I might have missed it, but if there's a problem, if my Chromebook camera is broken. One thing that you can do is that if you are viewing your test on your Chromebook, and again, this is more steps, more devices means it's going to take you more time. So you got to make sure that you practice this. But what you can do is if you have your Chromebook open, that's how you're looking at the test, and your camera's not working on your Chromebook, or you think the camera's going to be better on your phone anyway, take the pictures with your phone, send your pictures from your phone to your address that you can access on your Chromebook, and then upload it from there. But just know there's a couple steps. Because that would be take the picture, get the picture to your Chromebook, download the pictures from your Chromebook into a place that you can on your desktop or save them, and then upload the pictures into the system. So if you're using your phone, which is probably the best idea because it takes really good pictures, just know that that's a process. That's a process you should be practicing. How can you get the picture from your phone uploaded onto your computer? And I think a lot of you were doing that when you were taking the test with us. And that's why Mr. Lofgren showed some good foresight. The whole time we've been practicing that process. So just a couple steps, but steps may take a couple more times. So make sure that you're getting that down, you're practicing it before the day of the AP exam.
Yeah, that's a good point. Remember too, you have 5 minutes to do that. Once that timer turns red and it starts counting down from 5 minutes, you really should be stopping your work and then going through that process.
Okay. And then, so there was a picture, there was a thing saying that maybe your phone's having a hard time. So what I would do is, so if your phone, so basically if your phone can turn a picture into an email and you can email it to yourself, that's what you want to do. If your phone can't email pictures, then you might want to practice taking your Chromebook and kind of, practice putting it there too. Maybe even you would take your key or whatever, and you would hold it up. You'd hold it up to your camera and try and get in. If you don't think that's going to be good, that's going to be where you want to label up the top and the bottom to try and get a couple segments there. But you definitely want to practice this out. You might be able to leverage this into, Mom and Dad, I'm going to college soon. I'm going to need this kind of technology. Who knows in these crazy times, right? I need a phone. This might be time for a phone upgrade, parents. This might be leverage that. So
there you go. All right, and remember, you got to do that process Mr. Stevens was talking about in 5 minutes. Take your picture, email it to yourself on your Chromebook, find it on your Chromebook, and then submit that picture or pictures to the testing website.
Here's a good question too, Mr. Loughran, that I know that we kind of talked about, but I don't know the answer for this. So the chat is there. If you decide to have the test itself on your phone, which we know you can do that, you just have to scroll around. If you decide to have it on your phone, can you leave the test to take the photo and then go back into the test?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain.
And then, do you think it's good to have a good idea to write your AP ID initials and page numbers on multiple pieces of paper before we start? Yeah, that's a great recommendation. I would write your AP ID and initials at the top and the bottom of multiple pages. So that way, and they recommend the page number too. That way they can, if they're having a hard time with their photos, they can check it out. Another great recommendation is send your picture to like your parents and see what they see. Because for a lot of you, well, some of you that sent me stuff for submission, it looks fine to you because you're looking on it on the device you sent it. But by the time it got to me, it was really small or it was blurry. I couldn't see it. So it might be good to send your photos to a different place or to an email or somewhere independently so you can see what it looks like. Because again, when we have blind spots, we don't know that something's happening until we find those. So it's just good to practice taking these pictures, sending them off to maybe a parent's email and have the parents see what it looks like or something like that too.
Right. And AP has an actual practice website set up so you can test it out and see how it goes too, which we'll show you.
And then another question from Ben is, so we can change tabs to get our email and download images during the test. I think what Mr. Loughran's just going to talk about, Ben, right here is more wanting to have windows side by side than to switch between tabs. Is it okay to take multiple pictures of one page, or should we do one photo per page? I would say make sure your initials and AP ID are in every photo that you take. If I say the photo
what I've seen for that question, what I've seen is they want one page per picture. I know a lot of students on the test were sending one picture of like parts A, B, C, and then halfway down the page, they take another picture that maybe had C, D, E, F on it. I think they want you to try and take one picture per page.
Okay. And then another question, if I say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, let's hear the other question.
Oh, if I save the photo to my Drive or Chromebook, can I upload the photo that way? Yes, I believe so. And I would go with a 2-window side-by-side only for the submission part. And Mr. Loughran's going to talk for that.
Yeah. So they suggest on your Chromebook, you have 2 windows side-by-side. Window number 1 would show the test where the timer is and the question is showing there so you can see it. Window 2, they're saying this is where you would type your response. Again, I am telling you pretty clearly, I would not type your response. I would do it on your sheet of paper like we're talking about. But for some reason, if people choose to do that, you can have it that way. The one thing I've seen, and we're going to show this, that they've said over and over again is when you have your window open with the test question and the timer, do not hit back on the browser. Do not exit the browser. Just leave it open. If you need to click to something else, to like go to a folder where your picture is, that's fine. Don't hit back or close out the browser. We'll talk about what happens if you do that here, but that's their suggestion. So yeah, and I put down here, if you're handwriting, like I suggest, you're just going to have the exam window open. So where you just see just the question itself and the timer going. So here's what we're talking about with your sheets of paper. And some student, Mr. Stevens already said, asked about this. This is what I would definitely do. Have your sheet of paper, put your initials at the top, put your AP ID number there. Remember, you're not going to get the ID number until you get that email ticket 2 days ahead of the exam. Okay, that's going to be on your e-ticket. But put your initials, put your AP ID number, put a page number at the top. And what I would totally do if I was taking this test, I would pre-make 3 sheets of paper for each problem. Have this, maybe even put up the top, problem number 1. Initials, ID, page 1. Problem number 1, initials, ID, page 2. Do it again for page 3. And then do the same thing for problem number 2. You may not need 3 pages, but I don't want you to have to waste time during the test rewriting your AP ID number and labeling all that stuff. Just have that made so you're ready to go. I don't know, you might only need 1 sheet of paper. Who knows? But at least you're ready if you need more than 1. Yeah, so set those up before test day just to save time. All right, Mr. Stevens, you want to take over here? What are you going to expect on test day?
All right. So on the day of the test, remember we talked about the AP stats starts at 1 o'clock our time, but you need to check in at 12:30. You're going to get your e-ticket to check in. They're going to do a complete exam security and identity screening. We don't 100% know what that is, but we know that it can definitely be done with tons of time to spare if you check in 30 minutes before the exam. And then you're just going to sit and wait for the exam to begin. Everyone's exam will start at the exact same time. So even if you check in and you're done early, you can't click through. It's all on their timing. So you can't get in early. And once your timing starts, if you're not ready, it doesn't matter. Your timer is starting.
Now just picture 200,000 students all across the world, the exact same moment, are watching that timer countdown. You guys are sitting there, you just had your lunch. Kids in China are popping Red Bulls, trying to stay awake at 2 in the morning.
And again, like Mr. Loughran said, exam will begin automatically on time. Don't refresh or log out. You take the exam, it'll be 50 minutes total for those 2 problems.
And remember, that's 30 minutes for problem number 1, 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes to upload your pages, and then 20 minutes for problem 2, which is 15 minutes of work and 5 minutes to upload your pages.
So what's the best thing that you can do for yourself to be ready for this? And like anytime you're taking a test, you want to think about the environment around you. So what can you do at home? You want to be at your best in a quiet room. You want to get rid of distractions. You don't want to have a pet that could accidentally jump up on your keyboard or something like that too. Talk to your parents, your brothers, your sisters, grandma, who's ever in the house. Tell them, please do not disturb you during this time. Let everyone know that you just need to be there by yourself. If you've been having problems with bandwidth lately, try to limit that. Don't stream shows during it. Ask other people not to have stream shows, stuff like that too. Try not to have online gaming. We know that this may not be possible for everyone because you have multiple people in the house that are going to do it. But maybe if you give whoever else is in your house this much lead time that you'd really like to be the only one on that right now, or limit that activity with this much time planning ahead, you might be able to get that. So just look at that there, and then have all the checklists and any required documents next to you, the pages ready to go, everything ready to go, extra pencils, extra pens, whatever you need, sip of water to drink, whatever, just have it ready there, ready to go. So what can go wrong during the test? Let's say you accidentally close your browser, your device crashes, you temporarily lose internet access. You can quickly click on your e-ticket again to pop back in the exam. Now, you don't get any extra time. Something shot down for 5 minutes and come in, they don't come in and say, okay, you get 5 extra minutes. The timer's still going the whole time. So to continue the exam, and still submit, no matter what happens, submit something at the end, okay? Don't leave it blank. Submit something if you can. Continue the exam, and if you feel at the end of the exam that a temporary disruption negatively impacted your performance, you can request approval for them to automatically push you to the June exam, okay? And again, you still want to submit what you can, but if you think there's a problem, you have to contact them. They take all the troubleshooting away from Mr. Lofgren and I, away from all the individual teachers. We can't do anything. They put it on you. You have to contact them at this address. And again, remember, this whole presentation is going to be up there for you to see. During the exam, don't refresh your browser. Don't hit back. Don't call customer service, because they're not going to have anyone they're not going to have anyone manning the phones. Okay, this is the address that you see here that you need to talk to them about. Optional resources. You can use class resources and class notes, right? You can have the study guide. You can have our student packet out. You can have your textbooks out. You can have any of your previous assignments out. You can have your calculators out. When it said shared study notes must be downloaded, that just means that, let's say you and a friend have made a Google document together, and where you've been kind of sharing notes as a table or this in class, they're going to see that collaboration. You don't want any document on there that you're on there at the same time. So if you had something you made together, you both need to download a static version of it, so multiple people aren't interacting on the same document at the same time. Because if I have a Google Doc and you sent it to me, all I have to do is go into the history and I can see who did what when, and if there were 2 people on it at a time, and all that stuff too. So you don't want to be on a shared document at all. Internet searches will waste your time and put you at the risk of exam violation. The more time you spend searching the web, the less time you spend answering questions. Internet-based facts, research, opinions that aren't relevant to AP, and they won't raise student scores. And copying from websites, social media, and online forums is considered plagiarism. Please remember that you're going to be logged into their system. So when you're logged into their system, actions that you're taking on your computer, whether they are audio or visual, or steps that your computer does when you're logged into the system, may be tracked in some way. So you just have to make sure that you are just doing your best, following the rules, and don't give them any indications where they might have to look and figure this out, okay? And then there's another website down there from what we talked about the way to work with AP, and the best practices down at the bottom, another site to look at.
Yeah, I'm going to add to this, things you definitely want to have with you when you're taking the test. You definitely want your purple packet of statistical wisdom that has the formula sheets and the normal table and the t-table. If you don't have the paper copy because it's still at school, we're going to put that on Classroom as a PDF file, so you can have that open on your Chromebook, so you can go look at the formulas and things. Any packets that you might have, the chapter packets, if you have them at home, I'd have them there, just sit in case you want them. We're going to put out on Classroom also probably one of the most comprehensive note sheets I've ever seen anybody make for the entire AP Stats course. We're going to put that on the Classroom for you pretty soon, so you can start looking at that. Maybe it's not necessarily the thing you want to have to be looking at during the test, be like, oh my gosh, what was the difference between blocking versus stratifying or different things like that. But it's a great thing to be looking at in preparation for the test. So we'll make sure we have those things handy for you, even if it's still sitting in your locker at school.
What's nice is, and again, it's something you want to be looking at the resources that we have, because we are teaching the way that College Board assesses statistics. There's a lot of different ways when you go out into the world and you take statistics from other universities, because it's such a new math. different people talk about it different ways. So if you were to do a Google search on a phrase, you may end up getting a correct answer, but it's not the way that AP views it, or it goes from there. For instance, like our 10% condition, other people would call a condition of independence. So you just have to be careful. You can Google and you would get correct answers, but they wouldn't be the way that we've taught you to answer those questions. So you really want to think about our method, our book, your notes are your resources to how to answer these questions to maximize your scores.
Yeah.
So what do we know about exam security? Again, you may not incorporate any work which is not your own. You may not provide or receive aid from any kind of anyone. To identify students attempting to receive help through the web, phone, or social media, they have sophisticated detection technologies and process. We don't even know what those are. But College Board, I mean, College Board has so much at stake. If they thought this, any university thought that this test wasn't valid, that they just have committed so many resources to test security that you're just not going to be able to beat them. So don't even plan on it. Monitoring social media and discussion sites to detect or disrupt cheating. Post content designed to confuse and deter others that try to cheat. Attempts to cheat will be detected immediately during the testing or be identified in June and July with exam scoring. In addition, student exams will be scanned by plagiarism detective software and shared directly to their teachers. Students found violating exam security will face severe consequences, which can include having their names reported to college admission offices, AP exam scores canceled. More about exam security can be found there at the bottom. You can report any cheating attempts here at Report Cheating. Here's the thing too. I know that that when it says on the bottom that says you can report cheating, and you may say, well, that's not me. I wouldn't report someone else cheating. If someone was to reach out to you during the test and ask you something, right? Ask you for an answer. I'm not saying that you should report that, but if there's a digital link between you and another test taker, that digital link could be enough to say that they thought you might have been collaborating. So do your friends a favor and don't even put your friends in a position if you're trying to reach out. If you just get nervous and you're trying to reach out and talk to someone else during one of these AP exams, don't put your friends in a position of that, because just reaching out and asking them is something that may be tracked or recorded. And now, even if your friend did nothing wrong, that link to your friend could be something that's tough. So just don't even attempt. Just help. Yeah. If they're your friend, you're not going to do that to them.
Good point. Okay, next section. 5 steps to take before the exam day. We're going to go through some of these here pretty quick. One thing you want to make sure is that AP has your contact information. Hopefully, you guys have been getting email updates from the AP program. I assume they've been sending emails to you as students, like we've been getting them as teachers. You might want to do this though. Just log in to My AP, the website right here. Make sure you know what email address they're using for you, because that's the email that your e-ticket is going to go to. And your e-ticket is the key, obviously, to starting your test. So make sure that they have your correct email, that you know what email it's going to. Is it going to the school email? Is it going to your own personal Gmail address or some other email account you have? If by some reason you can't get your email, say the day of the test, or for whatever reason, you can log into your AP account on their website, on this website here, and you can access the e-ticket in that website, even if you can't get to your email. So that's kind of a workaround if your email is not working for some strange reason. Secondly, you got to check your technology. They definitely recommend using Chrome, so you should be good with your Chromebooks. Do not use Internet Explorer if you're on some other computer. It will not work, so make sure you're not on that. If you have a Grammarly plugin installed, I'm not sure exactly if that's a popular thing you guys use. Apparently it checks your grammar. That can't work with the security software they're going to use. Your test will be canceled and they won't be able to grade it. So you need to make sure if you have Grammarly plugin installed, you remove it. If you're handwriting, which we are all making sure that we're doing here, that's the way we're recommending, you should absolutely take a demo photo of your paper to test. Can you take a good picture? Is there good lighting? Go to the room where you're going to do the test in. Try taking a picture in that room. Set out a sheet of paper, just throw some gibberish on it and try and take a picture. Is it taking the right file type? Can you frame the picture correctly where, you know, the page of paper takes up most of the picture itself? I've seen all sorts of extra things in the pictures that you guys are sending on tests, from rolls of aluminum foil to food you're eating to whatever else that happens to make it in there. Just take a picture of your work, but practice it. And I'm going to show you there's a way to practice that too. And that's what this third item is here. You want to do the AP exam demo. You have to do this. I'm telling you, you absolutely need to do this, okay? Here's what it does.
Best way to practice the entire process. It's the best way to practice the entire process, from trying it out to getting content to uploading devices. So you got to do it.
Yeah, and the link to this is on Classroom, so you can do it. It's going to do a couple things. Not only does it give you an exposure to what the testing software is going to look like, but it's going to tell you right away, does your device and your browser work? If you're trying to use something that's not going to work, it will tell you that. It lets you practice submitting your picture, so you can see how that's going to go. When you submit your picture, you're going to go down here and you're going to attach the picture file right there. You're not going to paste it. You're going to attach it. Make sure you use the same device that you're going to use on the exam day. Don't practice it on your home computer if you're going to do the test on your Chromebook, for example. The link here is how you do the practice. This is also on the Classroom post that we put out there. When it asks you for the ID number, you're just going to type the word practice, and it says that right on the screen when you log in. But you definitely need to practice that. And then complete the demo. They just, you know, there's no actual statistical questions on there at all. It's just practice on doing it. But you really need to do this. You don't want the first time you see the testing software to be on May 22nd at 1 o'clock. You get this ahead of time. Item 4, we've kind of already talked about this. You want to have a bunch of things ready to go on test day. Have your e-ticket email up and going. The checklist is something that we've posted out there on Classroom as well, where you have your ID written down. You have your device, the Chromebook. You've got your browser up and ready to go. You know you got a good internet connection. Your brother is not on Fortnite and mom's watching Netflix or anything like that. If you have assistive technology of any type and you've been approved for that, then you've got that ready to go. And again, you can use your class notes, the purple packet, textbooks. You can be online on Classroom to access our PDF attachments of the purple packet and other things if you need to, okay? And then finally, fifth step, get your exam confirmation. This says by May 4th, you should have gotten an exam confirmation email saying, I mean, I didn't get one obviously, but it should be saying, hey, you're registered to take the AP exam. So I'm curious, have you gotten this? If you've gotten it, throw in a chat, just say yes or no, so Mr. Stevens can see that. And Mr. Stevens, tell me what we're seeing. Do we have students that have gotten that? Because I can't see the chat.
We do not. Oh, we say yes. Lauren says yes. Michael Stortenberg says yes. Camden says, I'm sure. Erica Peters says no. Connor says yes. Natalie says yes. Taven says yes. And then some people say, I'm not sure. So we do have some steps coming up on the slide to talk to you about if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. If you haven't gotten that exam confirmation, like a few people said no, then that's definitely where you need to go back. You need to go back to step number 1. You better go back here and make sure that AP knows your email. Go back in and check that and make sure that they have the email account, using the email account that you think they're using, okay? And just remember, even if you're not getting those emails, if you can log in here, your ticket will show up in this website, okay, under your AP account down here. So that's something you should check on, and if you can't get to that, make sure you're looking at that right away, okay?
I was going to say back on that slide too, by adding that contact in your contacts, it will help that messages from them not go to automatic junk or spam folder. So you can see on number 4 here, create a new contact in your email and put that email address, then that your system is going to recognize that emails from this address are good and aren't going to shoot them to spam or junk how they may have in the past.
That's a good point. That it could be you guys who said no, you might be getting them, but they're just going right into your spam folder. All right, so to wrap this up, most of you, it sounds like you've gotten the confirmation. So then here's what happens. 2 days before the exam, which should be on Wednesday, May 20th, you should get this ticket. It should be emailed to you. You will see your actual AP ID number there. And at that time, when you get that, whether you get it from the email or whether you get it from logging into their website there, that's when I would go in. I'd start preparing those pages of work. Do page 1, 2, 3 for problem 1, put your initials and ID number on it, and do page 1, 2, and 3 for problem 2 with your initials and ID number. Again, these 5 things we just went through, they're on a checklist. I put them on Classroom. You can link it through here too, but I did put this on Classroom. Those are things you got to make sure you're able to do, that you have done. All right, Mr. Stevens, take us home.
All right, so what happens after the exam? Well, there's a couple of timelines, things you should look at. Your AP exam from 1 to 5 is going to be released around July 15th. And that's going to be on your College Board account, the same one that you have. I will say that earlier on, someone asked me what email should they be using. And I think that I even replied to them that using your school email is kind of nice. But if you're a senior, I'm not sure when your email for Ankeny Schools is no longer valid. So you might be wanting to switch over to a Yahoo or a Google address that you're using so that you can access this at a later time. Especially if you're using something mainstream like Google or Yahoo or Ask Jeeves, you basically need to be doing that part where you put the contact into your account, because those are really aggressive about spitting out spam, or at least separating in a different place.
Sometimes things like that, you can actually enter 2 emails. I don't know if this one lets you do that, but sometimes you can. So you could always, if that's the case, you could put in your school email and then a second personal one.
Nice. So then you're going to get that after, will be released July 15th. Seniors, if you sign onto your College Board account before June 20th, and if this is something you want to do, just go to your phones right now while you still have your phones out, put in a reminder to yourself before June 20th to select a college or universities that you want your scores to be sent for free. So here's the thing, and I'm not saying that this deadline is on purpose, but I definitely want you to see. On June 20th, you can select to where your stuff's going. That's free. But you won't know what your score is until July 15th. So if you wait until after that, if you're like, oh, I'm worried what my score is going to be, I want to see it first before I send it. I can tell you that if you don't get a score that qualifies you for different credits, I can't think of any possible negative thing that a university would do to you. There's nothing they would do to you if your score is too low. So I would totally recommend that you go in before June 20th. You can do it now. Select your colleges your universities that you want your score to be sent to, and have them sent there. And for some reason, if it's not as high as you wanted it to be, they're not going to say you're a bad person and there's going to be a penalty. Okay.
And remember too, you're going to have GMAT credit.
Yeah.
And picture worst case scenario. Say you get a 1 on this test. Absolute worst case. You are not going to get a 1 though. Trust me. But let's say somebody gets a 1 and they also have DMAT credit because they got a C in the class, and so they got DMAT credit, for example. No college is going to go in and say, oh, look, this student got DMAT credit for statistics, but they got a 1 on the AP exam, so now we're going to take away their DMAT credit. They cannot do that. You will have DMAT no matter what. So yeah, it's not an issue not knowing your score.
Right. So log on, do that before you forget, get those scores sent to you. And like we talked about in class, like up in Iowa State, you get a 4, boom, that's 4 credits, Stat 101. If you get a 5, boom, that's 4 credits, Stats 201. And remember, you can go to College Board. And basically ask, type in basically College Board's AP scores to my college, and they'll let you, from a drop-down menu, see which colleges what college you're going to or you're thinking about, and what a score would equate to you. And if you can't find that, reach out to me, Mr. Lofgren, or I, and we can send it out. Okay. Once we receive scores in July, we take the AP Stats Hall of Fame and we'll update it, proudly display your names. So we have these posted up in our rooms. This is from 2019. If you don't want your name displayed up there, just let us know. We're assuming that everyone, it's okay if we put your name up. If you don't want us to, then send an email to Mr. Lofgren and to me, put us both in there, and then we won't put your name up there. Yeah, we have those AP Stats Hall of Fame hanging up. So
we want to fill that thing up with as many names as possible.
There's a good thing too. Here's a good question that you may be able to help me out with, Mr. Lofgren, out on the chat. Can juniors not send scores to colleges yet? I'm not sure if you can. I'm not sure if you put in, if you're taking it as an AP test as a junior, if you put into college, if it would send it or not. I'm not sure about that.
Good question. I do not know the answer to that. My assumption is that it wouldn't matter if you waited till next year to send the score, since you're not going to college until the year after this one. But I don't know the answer to that. So if you want to know that for sure, you might want to email Mr. Goldsmith, who is our AP coordinator, or maybe try and search that on the AP College Board website too. I might shoot it to Mr. Goldsmith, see what he knows.
Another from Connor, if we're taking multiple AP exams, when will we get all of our scores reported to us on that same July 15th date? I'm not sure if the July 15th, well, in the past, I think that all AP exams scores, official scores for all students are reported at the same time. I'm not 100% sure if this July 15th was specific to the stat sets that we have or all exams that you have.
I think it's for all of them.
Okay.
They used to stagger their release based on what state you were in. Like Iowa students would get their scores on this day, and Minnesota students might get on a different day. But I don't know if that's happening this year or not.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, final thing, remember those grading deadlines that we talked about. Make sure you're clear on those things, because that's your grade that is, and your GPA that's potentially impacted. So if you have any questions about those things, make sure you ask us about them. And these, just so we're clear, these are hard deadlines, okay? These are not the soft deadlines that our students have become used to over the past few years. On May 21st, there's nothing seniors can do, okay? Wednesday, May 20th is the deadline for that.
And please let us know that this process across the state, it's new. And these are deadlines that even if we wanted to, we can't help you change. These are very strict, and more than ever, they're underneath a giant lens to try to make sure that everyone gets the same thing. Like, it wouldn't necessarily be good if I let you do one thing and a different teacher let you do something else. We're looking for equity, we're looking for fairness. And the way they can do that is to set similar goals for similar sets of people. Questions that came up, will the DMAC final go into the grade book in any way? Because we don't know the nature of the final at this time, I don't believe that the DMAC final is going to go in to the gradebook anyway, but I would still ask you to do your best on it because it is a data piece. It is a data piece for us to see what we did and didn't do. And not only that, it's also a piece that if you show, if it comes out and you're like on the edge, but you show like more expertise on that final, that might be enough for me to say, okay, I didn't see that learning when we were together, but seeing that you have some learning on that final, that might be enough for me to say maybe I need to change one of the standards a little bit. Okay? So we don't plan for it to go into the final at this time. If it was going to go into the grade book, we would announce it ahead of time. We would announce it before you took it.
Right. All right. So that's everything that we wanted you guys to know about the AP exam process, what's going to happen on that day, before that day, on that day, after that day. What we need you to do from here is I'm going to suggest to you that in the next couple of days, you take the first practice test that we put on Classroom. And I'm going to show that to you in just a second. But there's a great practice test that's on Classroom. We're going to try and put out multiple practice tests over the next few days. So you guys who are really in it to win it and get that 3 or higher score, you're going to have lots of opportunities to practice these and see what the testing is like and what kinds of questions they're asking, to check your work and to check with us. Just a few things I suggest to you. I would take it in the same environment, the same room that you're going to be doing your test on May 22nd. I would time it if I were you, so you see how you're doing with the timing. The first practice test I'm going to put out there actually has a video with a timer going, so you can kind of watch that and see your timing. Have your notes, your calculator out and ready. Set up your answer pages, just kind of practice that. You know, make up some ID number and your initials, just throw them up there. You don't need to make up your initials, so you can put those up there. And then practice taking the picture. See if you can actually take a decent picture that's a JPEG format. And if you want to, when you take the test, send us that picture. And I'll take a look at your picture and tell you, does the picture file look good, the quality look good? And of course, if you got questions about question number or letter E, we will definitely give you feedback on your work as well. The key is going to be out there so you can see how you did, but definitely email us with any questions. So here's what that looks like. I'm going to go right back to this. I haven't even posted this out yet, but I'm going to post this out here right now.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. Posting. It's going to go right out to you guys. I'm not going to read through all this, but you guys should read through this. I'm going to tell you what's on here and let you guys tackle it. So update the stream. Here we go. So what I've put out here is a video of a practice AP exam. It is designed to look just like the format you will see on the AP exam on May 22nd. Of course, we don't know exactly what it's going to ask you, but this should be something similar to it. This video, I'd watch it on this video, but if you want to see the actual questions just in the PDF, here's the actual questions. This video, this is a teacher going through and explaining every single question on this test. So you can see how they answer it. And what you're going to see, you don't have to respond with paragraphs to have correct answers. So you can watch this teacher explain how he's thinking through it. And this is a PDF of the key. The PDF of the key, though, I'll tell you, is not nearly as good as watching somebody explain it and tell you, here's what you should have, okay? So that's out there. This is going to be the first of several practice tests that we're going to put out there. I'm going to stop presenting now so you guys can see that. But you let us know. I guess there's the chat out there. I don't know, Ms. Stevens, if we got any final things that need to be answered about the chats.
We don't have any other stuff about the chat. I would echo Mr. Lofgren's advice about after you to not only take this practice test, but also kind of listen to the practice key. Of course, if you look at the key and there's absolutely no questions that you have, that's good. But he kind of talks through his problems and stuff like that too. So it's really good to kind of hear sometimes the nuances of what people might say as they're going through it versus just reading the answers there. For the select few of you that have said that you still want to reassess, remember we have stuff out there opposed to what you have to do. You still have to do some sample problems, take that and stuff too. Same deadline as we saw that for. The deadline that we had posted is a deadline for all activities. So seniors, that means by May 20th, you have to have every single piece that you're going to have into us. Everything, makeup, reassessment, whatever you're doing, everything has to be done by that day. We can't accept anything after that.
Yep. Guys, thanks for hanging in there. I know that was a really long meeting, but I think it was important stuff that we had to get through there. Any questions you have, you follow up with us with email. We'll post the recording of it out there. If you having trouble going to sleep tonight, you can watch that again if you'd like to. And just let us know any way that we can help you. We got 2 weeks basically until the AP exam. We are here to help you. We want you guys all to be very successful, and you let us know what we can help you with.
Sounds good.
Otherwise, we're going to call it a day here. If I were you, get on, try and do that practice test today, tomorrow, if you can. We're going to put out several practice tests over the next few days, so you got more than enough to try and practice if you want to.
We'll post if you know some friends that forgot about the meeting or couldn't make it, we'll be posting a video in case you have to look back again. There's just tons and tons of beautiful resources out for there to try it. If nothing else, just kind of listening to it, soaking that in. It's really great. The more you can do, the better.
All right, guys. I got pickleball in 20 minutes. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
Mr. Stevens, you can stop the recording if you want to.
All right.
Goodbye, Bailey B. Connor. See ya.